Sector 9 had always been full of life. Hundreds of space stations floated in orbit. Cargo ships moved back and forth between planets. Traders, diplomats, and explorers passed through every day. It was a place of light, sound, and movement. But one day it all stopped. The first signal came from a mining colony near the edge of the sector. It was short, filled with static and fear. Then silence. The Council of Galactic Unity watched closely. They thought it was just a power failure. But then another signal vanished. And then another. Within 2 days, 6 colonies had gone dark. No messages, no alerts, nothing. A patrol ship was sent to investigate. It disappeared within an hour of entering Sector 9. Its last transmission was a single word: shadow. Panic spread through the galaxy. The Council called an emergency meeting. The brightest scientists, generals, and diplomats gathered. "What kind of weapon does this?" One alien shouted. "Could it be a black hole?" Another asked, but there was no time to answer. Every time a ship entered the sector, it vanished. It didn't matter how strong their shields were. It didn't matter how advanced their scanners were. Nothing returned. Not even wreckage. Soon, all star maps marked Sector 9 with one word in red: dead. Rumors began to spread across the galaxy. Some said it was a new weapon made by a forgotten species. Others said it was a cosmic storm, live and angry. Many whispered an ancient fear: the humans have returned. But that didn't make sense. Earth had been silent for over 500 years. After the Great Exile, humanity had been pushed out of the known galaxy. Too dangerous, too unpredictable, too violent. They had vanished beyond the outer edge, where no one dared to go. Still, the fear grew. A small group of scientists requested to send drones into the darkness. Maybe machines could survive where organic life could not. The Council agreed. A fleet of 20 drones was launched toward Sector 9. They were fast, silent, and filled with sensors. The galaxy watched in silence as the drones entered the dark zone. One by one, they disappeared except for one. The last drone sent a short, shaky video before going offline. The footage showed something no one expected: a giant black ship shaped like a blade. It had no lights, no visible engines. It moved like it was part of the darkness itself, on its side. Barely visible in the reflection of a dying star was a symbol. Not alien, not from any known race. It was a human flag, torn, scratched, but unmistakable. The room fell silent. A Varnak general stood up and whispered, "It's them, they're back." "But why now?" someone asked. A diplomat from the Zern species spoke carefully. Maybe they never left. Maybe they were just waiting. Across the galaxy, people watched their skies. Some were afraid, some were curious, some were excited, but none were ready. Humanity had always been a mystery. They had risen fast, fought hard, and disappeared without warning. No one knew what had happened to them after exile. Now the stars were dark, and in that darkness something was moving. A small scout ship, piloted by a curious young alien named Kalos, decided to investigate on his own. He didn't trust the Council. He believed truth had to be seen, not told. Kelas entered the edge of Sector 9. He turned on his cameras and sent live feeds to his home planet. His ship lights lit the path ahead. At first, there was nothing. Then, the lights flickered. The ship's control screen turned black. The engines failed, and then, through the front window, he saw it. A massive structured silent black, and watching it. Moved like it was alive, like it was part of space itself. A voice came through the ship's speakers. Calm, cold, human. We see you. You are not ready. Then everything went dark. Kellis's ship reappeared outside the dark zone a few hours later, completely dead. No power, no memory logs, no engine function. But on the main screen, there was one final message. The stars had their time. Now it's ours. Back at the Galactic Council, fear turned into realization. This wasn't a storm. This wasn't a weapon. This was a return. Humanity hadn't just come back, they had evolved, and they weren't hiding anymore. Asterisk. The message from the human ship changed everything. For days, every major news stream in the galaxy played the same footage. Dead ship drifting through space. The voice that whispered, "We see you. You are not ready." People across planets didn't sleep. Traders cancelled their routes. Civilizations who had never agreed on anything before suddenly shared one thought. Humans were real. Humans were back. And this time, they were hiding nothing. In the inner chambers of the Galactic Council, chaos grew. Security alerts flashed. Meetings ran for hours. Old files about Earth's history were unlocked, classified records not opened in centuries. One document, marked in red and labeled the Forgotten Ones, told a story no one wanted to remember. 500 years ago, humanity had become too powerful, too fast. In less than 2 centuries, Earth had gone from a primitive blue planet to a military power that could bend space, pierce planetary shields, and control nanoweapons. They didn't ask for permission. They didn't wait for approval. They simply built. And when the other species got scared, they united to exile Earth. A joint fleet of 37 species attacked Earth's outer colonies. The human core worlds held out longer, but finally fell. The last human message ever received was from a general named Ravenholt, who looked straight into the camera and said, "You think you've stopped us, but we were never just here. We were becoming, and now you've given us time." Then silence, and now, 5 centuries later, they had returned, silent, shadowed, changed. But where had they been all this time? In a quiet, snowy moon on the edge of the Solaris system, an old man named Aroken Thal sat alone in a cave-like observatory. He had once been a council historian. He knew Earth's history better than anyone. He remembered a pattern humans always followed. They moved into broken places, abandoned systems, empty moons, dead stars, places others saw as useless. But to humans, uselessness was a challenge. Iroken whispered to himself, they didn't hide in darkness, they built in it. He activated an old map of the outer edge uncharted space past Sector 9. The systems there had no names, no stars, no life. But suddenly, one point blinked, then another, then 12, not randomly, but in a perfect circle. The darkness wasn't empty, it was occupied. Meanwhile, in the heart of the council, Admiral Jarvika, proud warrior from the Claude, Raxin, species called for an immediate strike. They're building warships. They threaten every system. We must destroy them before they move. But not all agreed. Ambassador Lyria of the Eliari, a peaceful, aquatic species, stood up and spoke with calm strength. You exiled them once. They came back. You attack again. They will not show mercy next time. A vote was called. The council was split. No decision was made, but humans did not wait. 3 days later, The skies above the trade hub, Veltrax station, flickered. A single ship appeared, black, smooth, and massive. Its presence blocked the light of the nearby sun. The shadow it cast stretched across 2 planets. No weapons fired, no warning given. Just a message: send a voice, we will speak. No lies, no fear. The council had no choice. A special envoy was formed. Ambassador Lyria was chosen. She was nervous, but curious. Her ship entered Sector 9, slowly passing the border that had swallowed dozens before. This time, no systems failed, no darkness came. Instead, as her ship crossed the line, she saw them, a ring of human cities floating in space, built on black asteroids, glowing with soft blue light. There were no loud engines, no fleets waiting for war, just silence, control, power. Her ship was guided to a platform. There stood a man, tall, dark uniform. No weapons. His eyes held history loss, strength, and patience. "I am Commander Holt," he said. Lyria blinked. Holt, same as the last general. He nodded. "My ancestor. He left us a message. Let them forget us. Let them grow weak in comfort. We will not forget." She took a breath. Why now? Why return? The human's voice was steady, because the stars forgot what balance looks like. Peace was never peace, was fear of each other. We watched, we waited. Now we offer something else. What? He smiled faintly. Order, memory, and a question. Will you choose to stand with us, or be left in our shadow? Back on her ship, Lyria trembled not from fear, but from the weight of what she had seen. Humanity had not returned for war. They had returned to take their place, to remind the galaxy they were never weak. They were becoming something greater, while the rest had stayed the same. The meeting in the void, the council was silent after Ambassador Lyria returned. She didn't bring threats. She didn't bring demands. She brought a voice and a warning. They don't want revenge, she said, but they will not kneel. Not again. Some called her a fool. Others called her brave. But all of them knew one thing. Humanity had changed, and so had the rules. Commander Holt waited in the darkness. He stood aboard the Vigilant Warden, a human flagship older than any station. Still standing. It was made of dead stars and broken moons recycled into armor. No weapon could break. Its engines made no sound. Its weapons stayed hidden. But its presence shook the space around it. It did not threaten. It did not shout. It simply existed. A second meeting was planned. This time, not with just one ambassador. This time, the council sent 5, each chosen from different species, 1 for wisdom, 1 for strength, 1 for logic, 1 for diplomacy, and 1 for war. They entered the dark zone with full protection, shielded ship, escort drones, energy barriers. But the moment they passed into Sector 9, everything turned off. Engines stopped, shields dropped, even thoughts felt slower. Only one system stayed active, life support, and then light. Not harsh, not cold, but soft blue like a calm ocean. Their ship moved on its own, guided through a corridor of floating human structures. Each building was massive but quiet. Strange symbols glowed faintly across their surfaces. No alien species recognized the language, but the meaning was clear. Watchers, builders, returners. The council team was taken to a great hall carved from asteroid rock. At the center stood Commander Holt, surrounded by other humans, men, women, some old, some young, They wore no weapons. Their eyes were calm, but their silence was heavier than any threat. The first to speak was the war advisor, General Kurnus of the Grathi Empire. He stomped forward, claws clicking. You shut down our drones. You blocked our fleets. You send threats without cause. Why should we not strike now? Holt raised one brow. You may try, he said. He turned toward a black wall behind him. With a simple gesture, the wall turned transparent. What they saw stunned them. Hundreds of human ships hovered silently outside the asteroid ring. All black, no lights, no visible weapons. Yet their designs were impossible shapes that bent the eye. Ships that folded in and out of space, as if reality were just a suggestion. A soft voice spoke from behind the group. It was a human woman, her face calm but unreadable. We built in silence. While you argued, we created. While you feared, we learned. The logic envoy, a crystalline being from Vela, asked, "Why come back now? Why show yourselves?" Commander Holt answered without emotion, "Because silence was mistaken for absence, and peace was mistaken for victory." He stepped closer. "But you need to understand, we didn't return to destroy, we returned to balance." The diplomat from the Elithra system stepped forward, her wings flickering. "Balance requires trust," she said, "and you ask for trust from those you once fought." Holt nodded. "You're right." He motioned toward the stars above them. "Out there. You built walls, you pushed us out, and in doing so, you gave us the one thing we never had time." Another human stepped forward. He placed a small orb on the table. It projected a 3D map of the galaxy, but unlike any they'd seen before. Entire systems had been labeled differently, not by power, not by wealth, but by risk. Risk of collapse, risk of war, risk of lies. And at the center, glowing brighter than any other point, was Earth. The wise ambassador, an elder from the Chaton monks, spoke quietly. "You've prepared, not just for return, but for leadership." Commander Holt did not smile. He only said one thing: "We don't want to rule the stars. We want to make sure they survive." Then he turned off the map. "You built an empire of noise. We built a world of signal. Now we offer you a path. Share the silence with us, or be left behind in your noise." The council team returned home with the recording of the meeting. It was shared with all members. Some were angry, some were afraid, some laughed thinking it was a bluff. But the oldest species, the ones who had lived through the Great Exile, recognized the tone. Humanity wasn't asking for war. They were offering a test, one that had only one rule: speak the truth, or the silence will find you. Meanwhile, deep inside the human ring, a young girl stared out into the stars from a quiet garden. She wore no uniform. She held no rank. But inside her hand was a device glowing faint blue, with a soft voice. She whispered, "They still don't understand. We didn't come back to fight. We came back because they forgot we could." The council sat in their great hall. Lights dimmed, voices lowered. The meeting with the humans had changed everything. The footage of the Black Fleet, the way they moved, the way they spoke, and worst of all, the way they didn't need to threaten. But fear is louder than wisdom, and pride is even louder. Admiral Jarvik slammed his clawed fist against the stone table. "They control the dark zone. They shut down our systems. They dare to give us conditions. We are the Council of Galactic Unity. We decide the future, not them, Others nodded. Old rivalries with Earth still burned in their blood. But Ambassador Lyria stood slowly. They offered peace. They showed control, not violence. Do not mistake silence for weakness. The logic envoy from Valar flickered. Cold light through its crystal body. And what if this is the first step? First peace, then control, then dominance. The room TENSED. A single vote changed everything by a narrow margin. The council chose war. They would strike before the humans could grow any stronger. They called it Operation Dawnfire. A fleet of 7,000 warships was assembled, the largest in council history. Ships from every species, missiles, drones, gravity bombs, anti-dark matter torpedoes. Their target, the human ring in Sector 9. It was supposed to be quick. It was supposed to be final. But humans had always been good at one thing, letting others believe they had the upper hand. The fleet entered Sector 9. At first, nothing happened. No resistance, no warnings. Just the cold, black quiet of the zone. Then the darkness moved. It wasn't space dust. It wasn't malfunction. It was human ships, millions of them hidden in plain sight. Cloaked in black so perfectly, they became part of the void. The first wave of council missiles launched. They never reached their targets. Every single missile, bomb, and drone stopped mid-flight, frozen in space. Engines dead, signals gone. Ships began to lose power, one by one. A voice echoed through every bridge, every speaker, every helmet. You attacked first. Again, we end it now. It was Commander Holt. The sky lit up not with explosions, but with silence. Human ships didn't fire traditional weapons. Instead, they released wave, pulses invisible, undetectable, unstoppable. They shut down reactors, broke code, erased targeting systems. Ships from dozens of species floated helplessly, and then the stars blinked, literally blinked above the frozen battlefield. A massive human structure rose into view. Station so large it blocked entire constellations. The Lament, a mobile city, a weapon of peace. Its surface was made of shattered moons and forgotten ruins from it. Thousands of smaller vessels launched not to destroy but to board. Human soldiers entered council ships. They didn't kill, they didn't threaten. They simply walked to command bridges, handed the captains a small disc and said, "Watch this. Then decide." The discs played a message recordings from Earth's dark years. They showed humans building in silence, healing their wounded, learning from their past. They showed a promise made centuries ago. We won't return to conquer. We'll return to protect. Back at the council chambers, chaos spread. The invasion had failed. No ships were lost, but none could fight. And then something worse happened. Across the galaxy, civilizations began turning to Earth. Planet after planet called for human advisors. Colonies invited human diplomats. Trade networks asked for human encryption systems because they couldn't be hacked. The Council's grip was breaking, not from war, but from trust. A final emergency meeting was called. This time, it wasn't the usual yelling. It was quiet. Everyone knew the truth. Now, they didn't win because of power. They won because they no longer needed to use it. Commander Holt appeared. On the central hologram screen, no guards, no demands, just a simple voice. You came at us with fire. We responded with shadow. You forced silence. We built a world inside it. Now, we offer peace one last time. He placed an object on the table in the hologramma council crest, shattered and rebuilt. We'll never kneel again. But we're not here to stand over you either. Walk with us, or walk behind us, but do not stand in our way. The feed ended, no threats, just truth. That night, the galaxy changed. Some council members resigned, others swore loyalty to Earth. New laws were written, old wounds reopened. But one fact remained: the galaxy had made a mistake, and humanity had moved beyond. Needing revenge, they had become something else, a force, a future, a quiet storm that couldn't be stopped. The stars were no longer the same. Where once the council ruled from a place of fear and control, now the galaxy listened to Earth, not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. Every species had seen it with their own eyes. Humanity didn't fire the first shot. They didn't destroy a single city, and yet they won. They walked through the galaxy like shadows, but what followed them was not fear. It was order. On the desert world of Elekra, a planet once loyal to the council, a child sat beside an old storyteller. The child looked up at the stars and asked, "Is it true?" The humans came back from the dark. The elder nodded slowly. Yes, but they didn't come back angry. They came back awake. Were they gods? No, he smiled. There was something harder to be. They were patient. Back at the edge of Sector 9, the vigilant warden hovered silently near a small alien vessel. Its pilot, a young female from the Elithra species, had requested entry. She had no army, no command, just a notebook. She came to learn. She stood face to face with Commander Holt and asked only one question: "How did you build all of this in silence? In exile?" Holt looked at her not with pride, but with understanding. "Because when the stars turned their backs on us, we stopped looking at them and started looking within." Across the galaxy, human envoys walked softly into places once forbidden to them. Some brought medicine that healed genetic disease. Some brought memory tech that could restore minds lost to war. Some brought seeds that grew in dead soil, bringing green back to grey worlds. And some just brought words, not commands, not threats, just words that mattered. We remember what it's like to be ignored. That's why we'll never ignore you. But not all welcomed the new light. On a cold world called Vanak 3, a group of old warlords gathered in secret. They still feared Earth. They believed humans would rise and take everything, so they plotted one last strike, an ancient weapon built during the exile days. The Omega Pulsar, galaxy-wide EMP, hidden in an asteroid field. Their plan was simple: shut everything down, human tech included, then rebuild the galaxy in their image. But as they prepared the launch, something happened. The screens turned off. The alarms didn't ring. The door behind them opened, and a single human stood there, unarmed. She said just one thing: "You don't need to be afraid. We've already won, but you still have a choice." And then she left. By the time the warlords ran to their consoles, the Omega Pulse was gone, removed, disarmed, and vanished like it was never there. The asteroid field, now a human science academy, back on Earth. Cities once ruined by war had become clean, bright, and alive. No walls, no weapons, just people rebuilding. Humanity hadn't just returned to the stars, they had healed themselves first. They had learned that the greatest power wasn't destruction, it was restraint. In the heart of Sector 9, the Council gathered once more, this time on human soil, not to vote, not to argue, but to listen. The hall was simple. No throne, no weapons, just chairs, facing a single platform. Commander Holt stepped forward. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout. He only spoke a truth no one had dared to say before. You feared what we could become. Now you've seen it. We didn't come to rule. We came to remind the stars that they shine best when they're not trying to burn each other. Paused, then continued. You exiled us. That was your mistake. Bringing light back, that was ours to make. The hall stood in silence. Then slowly, one by one, the council members stood and bowed, not in fear, but in respect. For the first time in galactic history, Earth wasn't outside the room. They were at the center of it. Some say the stars are eternal, but now they shine differently. Not because the galaxies changed, but because a shadow once passed through them and left light behind. That shadow was called humanity, and they had finally come home.